Welcome to another edition of 805 Sports Talk. I'm Joe Bailey. Alongside me is Kenny Kress and Jacob Rayburn. We have a good show planned for you guys this week. Youth baseball, the season's really heating up with Santa Maria Babe Ruth hosting the Pacific Southwest Regional, so we'll talk about that. Sports editor Elliot Stern caught up with a NFL Hall of Fame lineman, Will Shields, who held a offensive lineman and defensive lineman camp in Santa Barbara, and a couple big national topics. So thank you for tuning in. So as I mentioned earlier, Santa Maria Babe Ruth is hosting the 13 and 15-year-old All-Stars at Elks Field with the Pacific Southwest Regional. The team won a state championship in Reedley last week. We kind of talked about that in the last show. This team is really stacked. Isaac Baez, a St. Joseph baseball player. A lot of really good players from Santa Maria High School. Trevor Garcia, Blake Truitt, and their second baseman, Slim Lopez. So it's a really stacked team. It should be a lot of fun. They host the tournament, and they start 7 p.m. Saturday night against a team from Southern California. So I kind of talked to them about their state championship and how they expect to do at this Pacific Southwest Regional. You guys still have that same confidence coming into this tournament? You know, it's going to be teams from all over the region, basically. You guys still have that confidence? And how do you think you guys will fare against these teams that are coming here for this
I think we'll be fine. I think our toughest might be the very first game against Torrance. Okay. You know, you start getting teams from LA area. You know, it's a different game over there. You know what I'm saying? Then after that, you know, we play. If we win the first game, we face Kerr West again. You know, so that would be interesting. And I think hopefully, like I said, by beating them twice, they're still up. You know, it's funny. They could still be up, or they could go in there thinking, okay, we beat them twice. You know, we got this, and then just be flat. So it's going to be interesting.
Talk about just the ride it's been with this group. You said you coached almost the whole team since they were 9 years old over at Southside, and they're up through here at Babe Ruth. You know, you guys win your California's tournament, make it to this regional. But just talk about this group and, you know, how it's been over the years, kind of seeing them grow and develop. You know, your son Trevor's on the team, so many good players on this team. What's it been like over the years with this group?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun because, like I said, you know, you coach a team during the year, and I guess it goes back to when these kids were 10. When we were 10 years old, we didn't expect anything. We had never gone anything like this. You know, so when we were 10 years old and we won our first tournament, and then went to the second one and won that one, we thought, well, heck, this is crazy. This gets a little tougher now. And so from the 10 to 12, I mean, I couldn't wait for these kids to be 12. You know, you always want them to stay young, but I knew what we had. So you know, because you knew that, because the 10, 11-year-olds, they don't advance to the World Series, just the 12-year-olds. So you knew. But like I said before, you knew what you had. You just had to. You know they could catch the ball, and you knew they could hit the ball. You just kind of had to kind of slow them down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Don't get too cocky. Don't get caught up on yourself and stuff like that. And just do what we have to do. And like I said, and it's some of the kids that I have. Like I said, you'll talk to Mark Rubicawa. He's a great kid. I mean, don't get me wrong. All these guys are great kids, but Marky, he's a different character. Like I said, you'll find out. But it's been a blast. Like I said, the kids have grown together. We have little barbecues and bonfires together and stuff like that. So all the kids get along great. There's no I'm better than you. You're better. You know, excuse my language, but you know what I'm saying. So it's been fun. It's fun to coach a team like this that first of all, that get along and that can actually play the game. So
you're named MVP of the regional tournament. You guys won a state championship. What was that like to help your team out and for you guys to win a state championship over there in Reedley?
I mean, it was very exciting. I mean, my teammates, my coaches, we all fought through the whole tournament. I mean, without them, I wouldn't be MVP. They helped me. They put me in certain positions for me to bat, pitching, and stuff. So they really helped me a lot with this, and we all did a good job winning the state tournament, coming back 2 games, beating Kerr West. But we all worked together as a team, and it just helped us win.
How would you kind of describe this team? A lot of them have been together for a long time since over at Southside. Are they a fun group? Are they serious? How would you kind of sum up this team?
We are fun, serious, and like very kind of like exciting to be with because we've been playing together since we were 8 years old. We're like brothers, you know, and this is our last year together. We're going to be going separate ways, high school and stuff. So, I mean, this team is just like my everything, probably the best team I've ever been on. And, you know, I'm going to miss them, and they're just everything to me.
You guys won in Reedley. It's kind of a grind. You guys had to come back and beat Kerr West 2 times in a row. What was that like playing over there in Reedley and coming home with the state championship?
It was pretty nice because we all played as a team, and we just had to work together. And we all went out there, put it out on the field, showed them how we play SM baseball.
Yeah, I was talking to Coach Eddie Garcia Isaac Baez. They keep talking about that team kind of mantra that you guys have been playing together so long. What's it like to play with these guys? You playing, at Southside since like 9 years old, playing with these guys. What's it like?
It's just family. It's what we do. It's always been there. They're always going to be there. It's just our family. We always play together.
Talking to Coach Eddie, seems like the team is kind of based on pitching and defense. Do you think that's kind of sums up your team? Is that what you guys kind of focus on?
Oh, yeah. Our pitching gets us ground balls, and we make the plays for them, and our defense is just really good right now.
Okay. Isaac Baez was named MVP over there. You don't get to play with him at the high school level, but what's it like playing with him here? What kind of player is Isaac?
He's a good player. He's a competitor. He competes, and he wants to get everyone out, strike everyone out.
Okay. And this group has been together for so long. I remember seeing pictures of you when you were like, 8 or 9 years old over there at Southside, and now you're over here. This is probably your last, baseball season for Babe Ruth. What's it like been playing with these guys? Playing for your dad, Eddie. What's it been like, just playing with this group?
Well, we get to bond. We've got to bond a lot over the years, so that helps a lot.
Okay. Talking to you during the high school season, I know Ivan Nunez was a big piece of what you guys did over there at Santa Maria. You guys made the playoffs for the first time in over 12 years. Is that still carrying you guys on? You guys won a state championship. I see a lot of you guys still wear the wristbands or the bracelets. What's that mean to do this for Ivan?
Well, we just really want to go out there and play for our boy and just get that W for him.
So, Mark, you're a catcher for this team. What do you think you guys did right in Reedley to win that state championship? Isaac was named MVP. It seemed like pitching and defense was kind of a key for that team. What were you guys doing right over there in Reedley to win a state championship?
Mostly we were just backing up our pitchers the most. Our pitchers were throwing strikes, hitting their spots, and our defense was there to help. I mean, we made a couple errors defensively, but in the most part, we got the outs when it counted.
Okay. What's it like working with this group, with the staff? Is you as the catcher, Isaac's, a top pitcher, Trevor's a top pitcher, Matt Garcia even did well out there. How would you kind of describe the staff and what it's like working with them?
It's pretty good working with them because let's say Isaac isn't having a good day or even Trevor's not having a good day, we still have 6-7 other pitchers to come in and relieve for, it doesn't really matter who's having a good day or who's having a bad day. Like either way, we're still gonna have a strong defense in there.
So yeah, good luck to those guys at Santa Maria Babe Ruth. And one more kind of quick topic on that. They've been playing for Ivan Nunez all season at Santa Maria High. A lot of those guys played with Ivan at Santa Maria Southside Little League, so it's really cool that they're still playing and trying to win games for that fallen teammate. We also have a pretty cool different story with Elliott meeting up with Will Shields. He's a Kansas City Chief offensive guard who is in the NFL Hall of Fame. He held a lineman camp this week in Santa Barbara. So Elliot, take us to that.
Thanks, Joe. I had the chance to sit down with Will Shields earlier this week. Now, Shields is an impressive man. He is a retired offensive lineman who is in both the college and pro football Hall of Fame. He's an Oklahoma native, played his college ball at Nebraska and his pro career with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Shields didn't start his first pro game for the Chiefs back in 1993, but he did play in that game. And after that, he started 231 straight games, including playoffs, right up until his retirement in 2007. And at the time, his streak was the second longest, only to Brett Favre's. Now, since his retirement, he's dedicated his life to helping children. And that's what brought him to the Central Coast this week, where he held a 2-day lineman's camp at Santa Barbara High School, where he taught offensive linemen, defensive linemen, tight ends, and even fullbacks, anyone that has a lot of blocking responsibilities, the basic skills to play football, but also wanted to get them involved in creating the building blocks for life. That includes education, nutrition, and athletics. We sat down to talk about his Will to Succeed program that incorporates all of his building blocks for life. You had a remarkable career in the National Football League. You never missed a game. Does the training that you're going to give these kids, will that help them to avoid injuries? Will it make them better football players? What kinds of things can they learn here?
Well, we're hoping to give them a different kind of mindset of how to play the game and how to play the sport. Of course, fundamentals is always the key of understanding, what position you're supposed to be in and how you're supposed to do certain things, but also to let them understand that there's other things that are just as important. Your nutrition plays a big part in your life of what you're trying to get to. It's more or less being the well-rounded person as well as athlete. And I think that's sort of the goal in mind, is trying to get these young people to understand that if you're not in the best shape of your life and not ready to play the game, it'll make it difficult, for you to actually go injury-free.
Your camp is for all linemen, not just defense or offense. You were an offensive guard for years, but this is for anybody that's going to be on the line.
Well, I think at this age, you got to realize is that, even myself, all the way through high school, I played both offense and defense. Most people don't know in your history that you were I was the defensive lineman of the year of Oklahoma, and yet I went to play, college football as being an offensive lineman. I think it's the simple fact of, the person that you go against always learns what you hate to see. So it's easier to teach what you hate to see on the other side, as far as teaching defense goes, as being an offensive lineman. Sort of the tricks of the trades and the things that, that gave you problems, you're trying to teach these young men of, hey, these are the different things that you can do to counteract those things.
So now how long is this camp?
It's a 2-day camp. We're doing 3 hours a day. And so we go partial offensive camp, and then we go partial defense, take a break in the middle, do some speed agility pieces, working on their total fundamentals across the board so that we can see what kind of shape they're in getting ready for their season. But on the other hand, what kind of techniques you can use as far as, on the offensive line, and then go back and sort of see the counter of it on the defensive side.
Now, Mr. Nash here seems to be an old friend of yours. Is he going to participate in the camp?
Of course, Coach Nash is sort of the reason we're here. I mean, for him to say, hey, Will, you need to come out and do a camp here and see some of the talent we have here and get us opportunity to get better. Him being a Kansas City native is always a good connection to have, but also building up the simple fact of using the speed sack as part of the programming, it always makes it a little bit better because, you can utilize that in many different ways and many different facets, and we still have yet to show the kids what they can do football-wise as far as offense and defensive linemen to get themselves better by using all the different products.
Shields just mentioned his good friend Monty Nash. Nash is a Kansas City native who became friends with Shields while Shields was still a player for the Chiefs. After graduating from Drake University, Nash came out here to the West Coast where he became a personal trainer, and he developed a thing that's called the Speed Sack Cross-Training System, which Shields has now incorporated into his overall training program. Nash also sat in with Shields and me when we talked earlier this week, and he explained how his speed sack system helps athletes.
Every sport you play with the front side of your body. So speed sack cross training gives you a platform to train your posterior chain, your backside, in a way that your front side's trained. So it kind of raises your anaerobic threshold, giving you the ability to perform at a high level for a longer period of time. Consider yourself playing a sport and the front side is your gas tank. Well, if you develop your backside, then you have an extra gas tank to use. It helps with you absorbing contact. It helps with you having more clarity throughout a game based on your ability to think. Jimmy Johnson on an NFL football story said the number one reason why you win is conditioning. So we want to give them that ability to prove that as a situation where it's hard to beat someone who doesn't quit.
Now, the speed sack, that's a weighted sack that you have to try to work against, right?
It's a sled that comes with refillable and sealed 10-pound weights so that you can make adjustments for what you want to do from a explosion standpoint or a resistance sprint exercise standpoint. When you move your body with resistance, I think that people fall in love with the 40-yard dash, but it's your ability to accelerate over a period of time within a game and be first to hit and be first to the ball to establish a pace of the game that you can capitalize on doing this type of training.
So that this will be easily incorporated incorporated into Will's camp, and as part of it, you'll be teaching the speed sack while he's working on technique and fundamentals.
Yes, it's a component that goes hand in hand when you do the backside of your body and then immediately go into some of the fundamental exercises and drills that you do for your position. Then it kind of enhances and gets those muscles that were trained in the backside familiar with the pace and speed in which you want to do them during the game and for a drill standpoint.
Shields feels that we have an epidemic of obesity in this country, so he's working hard to change that. He's developed programs that schools are using near his home in Overland Park, Kansas, other Kansas communities, as well as schools in Oklahoma and Mississippi. This was his first trip to the West Coast, and Shields told me it's been a great experience, and he's already making plans to come back to the Central Coast to expand his Will to Succeed program next year. So now let's check in with Kenny Kress for an update.
Hi everybody, I know it's been a while since I've been on the show, so happy to be back. I was fortunate enough to spend 9 days in New Mexico, had a very fun time with relatives there. I know I'd been covering baseball for a couple of shows, so anyway, it's good to be back. As Joe said, the biggest local news is the 13-15 Pacific Southwest tournament that Santa Maria will be hosting, and they will be playing at 7 o'clock Saturday night. Always interesting to see teams from different regions from throughout the west of the United States in the tournament, and this year with Santa Maria hosting, it should be particularly fun. Here to talk some about the week that was leading up to that. Here's Jacob.
All right, thanks, Kenny. And kind of a different kind of vacation to talk about. It was a bit of a working vacation for the Arroyo Grande girls water polo team. They came back home last Monday. I caught up with them later in the week. And what was really interesting talking to Sam Vitt and Sarah Parsons about that was it was really like a working trip. I mean, they spent time seeing the sights in Australia. Of course, you know, you want to experience being in a new country. But as Coach Stephen Allen put it, they were doing about 4.5 hours of water polo a day, of practice, of games. And but really important from a trip like that, and they did one 3 years ago to Italy, is that it challenges and really forces a team to come together as a group of people who are willing to work through issues, who live together for a brief period of time. They were in Melbourne for 5 days, Sydney for 7. And you're going to have arguments, you're going to have moments when you don't like your teammates, you have to work through it. And it's one of those things when I saw them that Thursday night, last Thursday night at Summer League Water Polo, it's not like you look at them in the pool and you can instantly say, oh, they played water polo in Australia recently, look how better they are. It's something that during the season and by the end of this next season, you'll see that this team, this group of people benefited from being together on a trip like that. So that was really interesting to talk to them about, and I'm really excited to see how they come together as a team in the pool during the season. And before talking to them, I also spent some time last Tuesday at Summer League games for boys, talking to a number of local coaches about the upcoming season. And there's a lot of attention on Righetti's boys water polo program that received the honor of being put up into Division I and are now going to challenge themselves to stay there. And it's just really impressive to watch these teams of Righetti, and I saw San Ynez and Cabrillo, these kids putting in the work during the summer when a lot of other kids are enjoying water in a different way. They're at the beach somewhere, they're swimming at their home pool, and these kids are putting in the work. So really looking forward to getting the season started for a number of different reasons. You know, everyone always talks about waiting for football, but I'm really interested to see what water polo will bring us this next school year. But before we get there, we've still got a lot of cool sports to talk about during the summer on the national level, and I know we've got some topics that we'd like to talk about.
So with us covering so much local sports, it is kind of fun to turn our focus to the international level, national level, and I guess a big story from this past weekend started on Thursday with Phil Mickelson shooting, I think, a 63 on the first round of the British Open, or the Open Championship, I guess you have to call it. And him coming up about 3 strokes short of winning a championship behind Henrik Stenson, who claimed his first major. So many people were talking about that, and I know, anybody who loves sports was definitely following that. Me, myself, personally, being a left-handed golfer, it was cool. I always kind of root for Phil. It's too bad to see him come up short so many times. I think that's his 11th runner-up finish at a major, so he's kind of getting used to that, sadly. Some people don't like Phil for some of this off-the-course stuff, but I always like to see him succeed. And, when he had that rivalry with Tiger, it was a lot of fun. So he came up a bit short. Some amazing golf played over there in Scotland, so that was a lot of fun to see, even though Phil came up a bit short.
That rivalry with Tiger, for the longest time, it was kind of like Phil was the people's champion, right?
Yeah.
He was the much more likable one of the 2 rivals. I was definitely rooting for him. What an amazing day he had Thursday. And to miss the record in the most Phil way possible. Putting, he's... Phil the Thrill. And Phil the Thrill has always worked both ways. Amazing shots that he's capable of making, and amazing heartbreak at the same time. But great for Stenson. It's always nice to have a new name on a trophy in golf. That seems to be a rare thing that happens.
Yeah. And they're both so old. They're both over 40. I think Stenson was 40. Phil's 46. I think is kind of a bland winner, Stenson, though. Not a whole lot of personality. I know people, like you were saying, Phil is kind of a fan favorite. With him being so popular.
Well, I've never had much of a problem with Phil, and when he hangs it up, I think most golfers would gladly take Phil's career. He's won 43 titles, including 5 majors.
I think they'd also take his, historic rank on the earnings.
Yeah.
But
also, as a bonus, Jack Nicklaus, who I've always been a big fan of, he wrote on Facebook himself that his duel with Henrik was better than his duel in the sun with Tom Watson, that thriller that Watson won. He said, our duel was very good, but he said the duel between Phil and Henrik was better.
It was great golf going down the stretch, and that's one of the things, that you'll kind of miss when Phil retires, because Phil seems to be in a lot of great battles with other golfers down the stretch on Sundays. It's just Phil ended up losing a lot of them.
And isn't it so funny how so many, this young generation of golfers, you have Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, Ricky Fowler, I guess even, Dustin Johnson is supposed to be the next big guy. And here we are at a huge major championship with some of the best golf I've ever played, and it's 240, Phil's 46 and Hendricks 40. Where are these young superstar golfers at? You want Spieth to be there, Jason Day, some of the younger guys, and yet we have these 2 kind of guys who have been around for so long.
Well, they didn't play well because they spent all week getting badgered about Rio. It's like, how many times, I think, who was it? Was it Jordan Spieth who said, guys, I think we actually have a big tournament this week?
Yeah.
Because in the whole build-up to it, constantly getting asked about not going to Rio. So there you go. But no, in all seriousness, what it comes down to is that you got all these up-and-comer, really great established young golfers. Doesn't change the fact that Phil's a Hall of Fame caliber golfer, and he's still playing.
None of the younger golfers seem to be able to put together the consistency that Phil Mickelson has.
Yeah.
So
And also, what was funny, I guess, I read that after the Brexit, that the winnings from this tournament, went down huge. I guess Phil lost, if this tournament took place, more than a month ago, he would have earned, 180,000 more or something like that, just because the pound is struggling so much against the American dollar. So that even if you win a tournament like that, they lost some money just because of the political stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny.
All the unintended consequences of a vote. See, that's why voting's important.
Yeah. Another, I'm sure, big topic national is going on in LA with the Dodgers. So many Dodger fans in the area. I don't think we have any sitting at this table, but Clayton Kershaw's on the shelf, and he with the back injury, I'd be surprised if he actually makes an appearance this year. That's definitely an injury that you don't want to mess with. So it'll be interesting to follow that.
Well, they've been doing fine. Certainly no knock on Kershaw. This makes the Dodgers' situation all the better. They've been doing fine without him.
Well,
last I heard, they were 11-6 since he got hurt.
Yeah, but there's a way a team plays in the short term after a guy like that goes down, and then there's the way a team plays long term. There is enough, unfortunately, because of him almost regularly now missing time. I think it's been years in a row where he misses time each season. So there is data about how the Dodgers look without him, and it's very average. And I don't know what it is about historically and great left-handers who put on Dodgers uniforms and suddenly start, getting hurt. The person who he's passing in pitching in Dodger lore, Sandy Koufax, had his career ended because of arthritis. Now you have back injuries, which anyone who follows sports know they don't always go away, back injuries.
I think that's all the more reason for the Dodgers to be cautious with him, though, especially since I think it is true that the longer he is out, the more detrimental the effect may be. But they do have some cushion to work with.
Yeah.
As far as the wild card, card spot,
but
until he's recovered.
It is kind of funny looking at the rotation without him. Here's the big money Dodgers, and you have Brandon McCarthy's going to take some starts. Bud Norris is there, So it's funny looking at, and they're going to bring up Urias. It's going to be interesting to see how Julio Urias kind of responds to this, and if he kind of takes a bigger role in that rotation. And it is kind of funny how cautious the Dodgers are with their pitchers. I think they were kind of that way with Kershaw, and they're doing that with Urias. They don't, they've taken him out of the 6th inning and most of his AAA starts, no matter how many pitches he's thrown. So they're so cautious with their pitchers, yet they're having a lot of injury troubles, and especially with their top pitcher, Clayton Kershaw. So it's kind of funny how that plays out.
I wonder if the caution is because they're aware of some of the past. I think Fernando Valenzuela was overworked, and that might have shortened his career.
It's not only that. This is not a team that's favored to win the World Series this year. This is a solid team that, with Clayton Kershaw, makes the playoffs. Most likely makes the playoffs. You never know. But why rush Clayton Kershaw back when no honest GM could look at this roster and say, favorites to win the World Series? Instead, it's a lot better to. They're still under the burden of a lot of bad contracts that they put together. And just focus on Clayton Kershaw being healthy. This is a guy who has potential to be one of the maybe 10 best players who've ever played the game the way he's going. I know ESPN is doing what seems to be like almost an annual exercise of putting together their top 100 players of all time. I'm not really sure it dramatically changes that much what that list looks like. But I'm kind of curious is that baseball down south from here isn't really doing all that great.
No.
And ESPN has also an article about, Mike Trout is on his way to being in the same conversation as Clayton Kershaw in terms of historic baseball player. And the Angels have done really nothing special in his time as a big-time player.
I don't see how he stays there with the Angels. I was watching the game, I think, last night, and it just seeing the empty park, and you're seeing a guy like a once-in-a-generation player like Mike Trout playing in an empty park for a team that has, that is going nowhere. And they put big money in a couple guys. Josh Hamilton deal was a disaster. Albert Pujols really has, he's a solid guy, but he hasn't really panned out, and you still have to pay him a lot of money. So it's just kind of interesting how the Angels are looking. They have this guy who, is probably the best player in the game, and they're not going anywhere. And you look at the Nationals and Bryce Harper, those two guys are always compared, and the Nationals, are one of the better teams in the NL. So I think, Trout's probably going to find his way to another team eventually, probably in his prime years. I think a team will probably get Trout for his prime years, and he's an East Coast guy.
That's kind of unforgivable, though, if the Angels let that happen, because but at the same time, if you're Trout, do you at a certain point ask to be traded, because this is his 4th year of being one of the best players in the majors, and he's still incredibly young. And by the way, he's been MVP once, and he's been, speaking of Phil Mickelson and his runner-up finishes, Mike Trout already has 2 second-place MVP votes to go along with his winning the MVP.
Well, I am a pretty big Angels fan, and this is rather painful. You know, Joe, you talked about if the Angels let Trout go to another team, it'd be seen as unforgivable. I think many of the deals the Angels have worked are unforgivable.
Yeah.
I mean, the stream of these high-priced free agents way past their prime
Yeah.
have come and have failed spectacularly once they put on an Angels uniform.
Yeah, it's just that the Angels are in a, it's eerie to me. I mean, the Dodgers are in a better place than the Angels.
They're in a much better place than the
I don't know
Angels,
how much
as
actually,
pains me to
because
say it.
of how much the Dodgers depend on Kershaw. But it's fascinating to me how both Los Angeles teams, and you can quibble if I'm supposed to call the Angels Los Angeles, but are in the kind of the same spot of 2 once-in-a-generation players, and are in danger of not building an organization that can win with them.
Yeah, I think that kind of just shows you how baseball is different from a sport like basketball, where if you have LeBron James, you know, that's 1/5 of your lineup right there, and you're pretty much set. You know, you're gonna have a chance of winning more than 50 games. If you have an ace like Clayton Kershaw, you don't know how this team is gonna. You got to build around them. You know, there's 24 other guys on that team. There's probably 11 other pitchers or so on that team. So, you know, if you have one player like that, it doesn't set your franchise up in a way that it does, you know, in the NBA or maybe in the NFL where you have a franchise quarterback. It's a little bit different.
2 players like that, and not one World Series appearance yet between them. Not even close to World Series.
The Angels have averaged 86 wins since Trout got called up. And the ESPN did their fancy little sabermetric math and showed that that's below average of what you would expect a team with Mike Trout, with what he can provide in terms of wins a season, and that he's that good. He's so special that if you win 86 games with him on your roster, you have underachieved. Just to have a player like that and not be able to really establish yourself as one of the best teams in the majors is got to be frustrating. And yeah, I mean, baseball in Southern California needs some help right now because it's not very exciting right now.
Yeah, but it will be interesting to watch the second half. I think that's all we got for this week's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on social media. Jacob and I will be tweeting a whole lot, you know, with the Santa Maria baseball tournaments, you know, so much going on the next couple weeks. So thank you for tuning in, and make sure to follow us online, in print, every day of the week. So thanks for tuning in. This is 805 Sports Talk.